I don't want to hear anything about the officiating Saturday night. If you're up 3-0 at home, I don't care who you're playing, you have to win that game.
You do.
You have to win that game. And they didn't. Not only did they not, they lost in regulation. They couldn't even get into overtime. That's even worse. Especially considering what happened on Thursday, where they're up 3-1 against the Islanders, and they let that slip away from them.
And by the way, when you're 6'4" and 230 pounds, take a peek out your eye. Once you see the ref's arms up, just get up and do whatever you got to do. They're not getting the call. It's not happening.
What are you talking about on the Saturday night, Matthews?
The Matthews cross-check. Everyone's complaining about it. It's like you didn't get the call, so get up and get moving.
Well, that's the other one for me. The first period against Detroit last night and Matthews getting buried by Manson, which should have been called.
Yeah,
it was a blatant cross-check. It was a blatant one.
But it didn't.
It didn't get called. But I have a bigger issue with absolutely no response again on that. Like that to me is even more egregious than Marchand on Liljegren earlier in the year. Liljegren got injured. Matthews didn't, but Matthews is Matthews.
Right.
Like Manson buries him, and the whole team's like, we're just going to let it go, and we'll see what happens. And even Auston wasn't even pissed. He just, he was injured a little bit, but he didn't miss a shift.
Or whatever it was.
He was out there the next shift.
Let's pull Auston out of that, because if he wanted the call and whatever, if he gets up and chases into it, then maybe that's a situation. But he did look like he felt that.
He got buried.
He got buried.
That was a big cross.
So Marner, obviously, Marner's not going to do anything, but you could slash the guy. You can do something. Who else? Gregor was out there. Brody. I'm trying to remember who the other guys were. Usually, that's a scrum.
Yes.
Best player, like I guarantee you,
gets buried and is down on the ice.
David gets buried anytime. Doesn't matter what happens. Accident, non-accident. That's, for me. Draisaitl got chopped across the wrist by Pietrangelo in the playoffs. Who was the first guy there? McDavid.
Right.
Went right after Pietrangelo.
That's in the playoffs. Again, yeah. I know the response will be, well, it's 3-3 and you want it. Who cares? It's a game in January.
It just, my thing is that sends a message throughout the league again.
Bury him.
That, this team, they struggle for consistently standing up for each other.
Stop asking for it. It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
It's not what they're going to do, so let's just stop pissing and moaning about it because...
but it's a problem until it's addressed, though. I can't buy into the program. And that's why today I look at it, and Leaf fans are all over the map in terms of what they want to see. No one's really happy right now. I think you got to have some perspective. They're still in a playoff spot. They're on pace for 100 points. They still have
Frankie
a lot of talent.
brought up a good point today. There's a bunch of good teams that are not playing well right now, and the Leafs are one of them. It's not the sky is falling, but you better figure your life out pretty soon.
Right, but here's the difference. One of those teams is Vegas. They literally won the Stanley Cup last year. Right, and they've proven who they are and what they are, right? Another team is obviously L.A. L.A.'s in big trouble. I guarantee you they're nervous in L.A. They should be, right? Just because it's not loud because it's L.A. doesn't mean the management and the coaching staff isn't saying, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
They are nervous and they should be. That's not a good scene out there in L.A. What I'm saying is, people are clamoring for a coaching change or a trade or whatever. I don't see this team being one move away from unlocking some sort of magic. Right. This isn't move Murray out, bring in Daryl Sutter, boom, it's over. Right. It's I don't even if you were to change the coach, and I think it's possible that could happen. I'm not sure if it will. I think the roster is the bigger issue than the coach personally, but anything's on the table. Anything could happen at this point. But even if you bring in a new coach, it's not going to change those moments.
Right.
And it's not going to change the fact that your second or third most reliable defenseman right now is Benoit.
Right.
Probably is.
Well, dude, that's the thing, Hayes. If you want to do one thing to say, let's try to maximize this roster for Sheldon Keefe and the players, you got to go and get 2 quality defensemen. And that's just the flat-out truth. TJ Brody, and I brought up his name a lot this year, and it's unfortunately on the negative end of things, he is not even close to being a top-pairing guy right now. The way he's playing out there, he should be struggling to get into. He should be fighting for his life to get into the lineup. And I'm not making that garbage up. That's not an opinion. That's fact. That is fact. Like the giveaways and the out of position. Like even the other night against Detroit, Morgan Rielly breaks his stick at the opposition blue line. And TJ Brody's his last line of defense. Wouldn't you think that he would bust his ass to get back like it was like the most important thing in his life? He was just kind of like, well, see, maybe I can get this guy. Maybe I can. It's just, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and I've seen too much of it this year. So go ahead and try to go get 2 quality defensemen and plug them into that lineup and see what they got. And then if they can't get it done, you say, you know what, there's serious issues here. But until you do that, maybe you'll never know.
But here's another issue that I have and something that I'm debating. I don't know the answer to it. But let's say they make a coaching change. I don't know if that's a culture-changing move when you just did what you did with Nylander. Like, you just gave him 11-5 over 8 because he had a great 40 games. So if you're going to make a culture, like we got a culture issue, how does that jive? Like, how as an organization, you're looking at this saying, man, we got to change the DNA, or we got to change our approach, or, man, we got to do this, that, or the other to get to the top of the mountain. But we're going to keep doubling down with the same guys and keep overpaying. And I just don't know if you can have your cake and eat it too if you decide to make something, decide on a drastic decision here.
Let me ask you both this, because Hayes, you made a good point. You don't think there's a magic bullet where it's one move and that's it, the pieces fall together. So let's remove the emotion and go, where do you start? What's move one if you had an opportunity to do that today? What's move one? Is it what O's talking about, a trade for a couple defensemen? Is it, because we've talked about several things. The goaltending, you got to sort that out. Samsonov, I think, was good yesterday. The game-winning goal was a kind of a weird one. I didn't love it, short side.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's broken plays before that. And what the hell are you doing managing the puck back there? Anyways, so you got to sort out the goaltending. You got to sort out the D. Who's the fourth line right now? Like, what is, are you comfortable?
Well, they were on
there?
for the winner, was it last night?
I know,
with
but
a minute and 50 seconds
Nice down there. You got Holmberg playing up, which is, weird for me. But, I just got to sort out some of the whole roster part of that, because it's not like you mentioned Vegas. Vegas got injuries. Leafs don't have a ton of guys, out.
Right.
Joseph Wall's out, but they don't have, hey, we're decimated, we got 8 guys out or anything. This is kind of their roster, give or take a couple guys. So you got to sort out what you're going to do. But what's move one? Where do you start?
Well, in the cap era, it's usually the coach. Right, if you feel like you have a big problem on your hands, you look at it and you're like, something's seriously missing, doesn't mean it's the right move. It doesn't mean it's a justified move. In the salary cap era, that's what happens. Because I don't think they can be in a position to acquire 2 defensemen right now for the rest of this season if it's going to cost you major assets in the future.
Right.
Because I don't think we always say the team's got to prove it. They got to show who they are. Right now, this team, they've been inconsistent all year. Yeah. Their defense is middle of the pack. Their penalty kill's not great. Their goaltending is questionable.
Okay, then you're standing pat.
But that's what I'm saying.
You're standing pat, you're going into the playoffs and be like, well, we'll see what happens.
Honestly, and the opinions are always subject to change. They got a big 2 weeks coming up. Edmonton tomorrow, Calgary Thursday, Vancouver, Seattle, and a home-and-home with Winnipeg. I think we're 2 weeks away from knowing more about this team. Yeah. So I don't think you have to have the answer right now. Yeah. But if in 2 weeks they go 1-5 or 2-4, it could be. I think it's a very different approach. It could be we got to sit back. Obviously, you'll make a move or two to patch a couple things.
And here's the extreme. Ken Holland didn't do. Ken Holland fired the coach, but outside of that, he didn't do anything.
Go play.
Go play. Get your
and look what's happened for
together,
them.
Right?
And they have. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. The Leafs play like they did yesterday against Edmonton. They'll get crushed tomorrow night. They will get crushed.
I think they'll play better.
I think they'll be much better. They'll get. It'll be emotional. There'll be a ton of Leaf fans there. They play Edmonton well. I think they'll be better. But it was not a good weekend. It was not a good 3 games in 4 nights. Let's call it what it was.